Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to take a dive into Taking Shape 2. I've done a few episodes on this book and the latest episode that I'm going to be talking about is the Unmade Halloween 4, and this is the Kenny and Medina script that just never made it to the screen. In this script, it is a sequel to Halloween 2, so Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis were burned at the end of Halloween 2. Both of them survived in this script, and they were airflown to the hospital. Don't know why this happened, but when they were getting flown to the hospital, Michael Myers was on a rope, assuming Loomis was as well, but Myers' rope snapped and it fell into the water and it disappeared. After this, we cut to 1988. Laurie Strode is now Laurie Jameson. She's married to a man called Terrence Jameson, and they've got a young daughter, Steffi, and they all live in Chicago. So it's now been set in Chicago. It's been set in the Windy City, and Laurie Strode is now a big-time photographer and she works for a magazine. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I think that Steffi might just be Terrence's daughter and not Laurie's. So Steffi is the stepdaughter of Laurie Strode. Terrence has also got a sister called Heather, who's a younger girl. She's about 17, 18 years old. So she's the teenage protagonist in this script. Laurie's therapist is none other than Dr. Loomis. So Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode finally get to talk to each other. It's hard to believe that in the first two Halloween movies, they don't really interact with each other in a normal capacity. The only time they interact with each other is when Michael Myers is after them. So it's quite nice to see in this script that they finally get to chat to each other, albeit he's acting as her therapist. So it's good that Dr. Loomis is in it in this capacity. Laurie doesn't remember the events of the first Halloween movies. She's traumatized by it to the point where she's literally got no memory of it. This is something that I didn't like in this script because although she doesn't have any memory of the events that happened, she literally acts as if she doesn't know anything. But there's newspaper cuttings, there's TV reports, people can tell her what happens, but she literally doesn't know anything. Yes, you could put it down to she's moved to Chicago and nobody knows what happens there, but if she really wants to know, she could pick up a newspaper or turn on the TV. But Loomis wants to make her remember. I don't know why, but he wants to make her remember what happens with the events of Halloween 1 and 2. So he tries some hypnotherapy on her so that she can try and remember, because at this point, she's only having vivid dreams and nightmares of what she thinks might have happened, but she's not quite sure. Michael kills his usual suspects along the way while he's hunting Laurie Strode. We don't know why he's coming back 10 years later. He just is, and I'm sure us as fans would just accept that anyway. But one of his main, or two of his main victims or two of his main stocks would be Heather and Steffi. So Heather is watching Steffi as a babysitter, of course, while Laurie and Terrence are out. And he puts, this sounds really interesting, he puts Heather in a garbage disposal and she dies, and then he's on the run with Steffi, or Steffi is on the run trying to get away from her Uncle Michael. Laurie gets home just in time to try and defend Steffi, and she finds Terrence stabbed to a wall. It kind of reminds me of the kill from Halloween 2018. The finale feels a little bit all over the place. Michael traps Laurie and her stepdaughter, I'm assuming, Steffi, in the backyard. And there's this pool in the backyard as well. But before this happens, you see Dr. Loomis trying to help them, and he rams into an electrical pole. I don't know if he'd done it intentionally or if it was just an accident, but he rams into an electrical pole, putting out the wires all over the place and they're on and off. And one of the cables falls on top of the pool, with water in it, of course, and this is how Michael Myers dies. He gets pushed into the pool and then he electrocutes and dies. Since everybody thought that Michael Myers did die in 1978, we see a gravestone for Michael Myers that's changed from 1957 to 1978 onto 1957 to 1988, so they confirm in this storyline at this moment in time that Michael Myers did die. In the script, the film does go a little bit meta at times as well. There's a scene in the movie where Laurie and Terrence are watching a movie, and they're watching the film Psycho, which has Janet Leigh in it, who is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, and it is the shower scene in Psycho as well. It kind of reminds me of Halloween H2O, where they eventually got Janet Leigh to act alongside Jamie Lee Curtis, which I find less forced, whereas this one seems a little bit too meta. There's another scene where Michael steals a Porsche, yep, an actual Porsche. This is the 80s, mind you, and he rams a lot of people with his Porsche killing a lot of people. So that looks like it, or it sounds like it would have been interesting to see. Something that I find funny about this scene is, again, is a little bit meta and a little bit too meta for my liking, is when he's ramming these people with the Porsche, he slams into a cinema, and the people in the cinema are watching a film called Halloween 4, and this movie is literally Halloween 4, so I don't know how they could do that, because obviously it is Halloween 4. Terence in this one sounds a little bit like Will from Halloween H2O. He tries to ask Laurie questions like, do you remember anything from your past? Etc, etc, and he seems to be this kind of loving, caring person, always asking her questions, making sure she's okay, and it does remind me of Will. Steffi as a character is obviously like Jamie from the actual Halloween 4, and apparently there's a lot of chase scenes in this one with Steffi and Michael that is actually amazing. I did mention that Laurie has some dreams and nightmares in this script, and what they were going to do was the dreams and nightmares that Laurie did have in the original Halloween 2, they were going to be using some of those dream sequences in this Halloween 4 script. In this one, Loomis does feel like the Loomis from Halloween 4 onwards, whereas everybody in the town, or everybody in the city this time, they seem to think that Michael Myers is just this human, an unstoppable human being, which is what I believe, but Loomis feels like he's more than that. He feels like he's supernatural and he can't die. So the script with Loomis in this one is very similar to the one that we actually got. Now, this is the bit that I absolutely love, and I think it would be hilarious to see this on screen. Luckily, we didn't see it because we didn't want Halloween to go this crazy route. But listen to this, guys. Michael Myers doesn't have the coveralls that he normally has in this movie. He gets his white mask. There's no explanation as to how he acquires another mask that's identical to the mask that he wore previously. We just have to accept that. However, instead of the coveralls that he used in the original 2 movies, in this one, he's got a full leather look. He's got a leather jacket and leather trousers, black leather all round. This is hilarious. So he steals it from a rock band that Laurie Strode, or Laurie, was photographing. So we get to see this band now and again. Now, the script does feel like a very late 80s rock movie. Those kind of rock movies that you got in the horror genre back in the mid to the late 80s. This is what it feels like. And if Michael Myers was wearing this full leather outfit, driving a Porsche as well, it just screams out rock and 80s. Another significant change is he's no longer called The Shape. In this one, he's called The Silhouette. Now, after this script was completed, the writers were told that Laurie Strode isn't returning. Jamie Lee Curtis has said no, she's not coming back, and they don't want to have another person playing Laurie Strode. So the scriptwriters thought, okay, we actually planned for this. So they removed all of Jamie Lee Curtis's parts of the film, parts of the script, and they replaced Laurie's character with Heather. Heather was already a character in the movie anyway, so she was now going to become the main character, sort of like Rachel from Halloween 4, and I'm assuming that's how that script eventually ended up as well. So now that Heather is the main protagonist and she's looking out for Steffi. So all the scenes, if not all the scenes, some of the scenes featuring Laurie Strode is now Heather. In the first script that does feature Laurie Strode, when Michael does get electrocuted, I forgot to mention that he actually explodes as well, so he definitely dies in that script. With the rewrites though, he dies in a similar fashion where he gets electrocuted, but he doesn't explode and his body just disappears. Again, it's very similar to Halloween 4. Although his body doesn't disappear, it does disappear into the mine shaft and we don't see it again. Why wasn't this made? Well, there's no actual answer as to a definite reason why it wasn't made. The script does change from having Laurie in it to not having Laurie in it, and it was quite a dramatic change because I don't think the writers or even Akkad was prepared to bring in another protagonist like Heather to be the main focus of the movie. So I think at that moment in time when this script was not accepted, they maybe thought to themselves, maybe there's a way that we can bring Jamie Lee Curtis back. They could have still used the first draft of the script, but again, there's no actual reason as to why they declined that, because with this script, apart from the leather get-up with Michael Myers, it's probably one of the most grounded scripts that I've read in this book so far. So if you were looking at all the scripts, this would be one of the top ones for me at this moment in time because there's more to read. But at this moment in time, I think this script is actually not too bad. but maybe some factors were put into place, like they don't want to set it in Chicago, they don't want Laurie Strode to have a husband and a stepdaughter, or they don't want Laurie to die, they don't want Heather to be the main protagonist. There's just so many reasons why they might have declined it at the time, but looking back, and even if the studio look back, they probably look at it and go, that's actually not too bad. A lot better than Halloween 5, 6 and 8, that's for sure. So that is the Kenny and Medina script for Halloween 4, guys. I think the most hilarious part of this is how I imagined Michael Myers to look in this film. That would be absolutely hilarious. Also, because he's so ingrained in being called the Shape, I think it would have been strange to call him the Silhouette. And if this script actually went to screen and he was called the Silhouette, maybe today we would have accepted it because it's over 35 years later. So we might be now calling Michael Myers the Silhouette instead of the Shape. That's something that I found really interesting. So what are your thoughts on that, guys? Do you think this script would have looked good on screen? And do you think the script was better than the eventual script that we got with the actual Halloween 4? Anyway, guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!